everybody, Anne-Marie the Forager Chick here, today with another yummy recipe for you. Today I'm going to make salted herbs. Some of you may not have ever heard of salted herbs. It's a way to preserve any herbs that you have during that season. So for me, it's all the spring herbs. I found a little patch of chickweed again, so I was very excited. And I have some chives and stinging nettles and mustard. Let's see what else is in here. I think I have some yellow dock, curly dock, and lambsquarters. So let me show you these little lambsquarters so you can see the leaf. They also call it goosefoot. It's related to quinoa. See, and the other side is whitish. But it's like wild spinach. That's basically what it is, lambsquarters. So we have our chickweed, our lambsquarters, stinging nettle, which I already got stung several times, some mustard, dock, and I know there's some plantain in there too. So salted herbs, again, is just a way of preserving your herbs. All it is herbs and kosher salt. And I got the recipe from one of my favorite books, the new Wildcrafted Cuisine by Pascal Bauda. And if you've never taken a class with him, oh my gosh, you should try to take one. If you're on the West Coast, you can go see him, but otherwise you can do an online class with him. So all we need to do, the first thing, I've already weighed everything. For example, your herbs, whatever you have of your herbs, if you weigh them, I have 5.5 ounces. Then you want about 20% in weight with salt. This way you have the right ratio and it'll preserve and keep preserved for about a year. So with 5.5 ounces of herbs, 5.8, something like that, I have 1.2 ounces of kosher salt. And you want kosher salt or sea salt, not regular table salt, because there's too many chemicals in there, you know, the way they process it. So try to use a natural salt as possible. The first thing we have to do, I've already washed and weighed this beautiful, look at it. Look at all those herbs. Aren't they gorgeous? I'm going to try not to get stung again because I've already been stung several times by the stinging nettle. So what we want to do is cut this up into a bowl, and then we're going to let the food processor do the work. But I didn't want to sit there and let the food processor work too hard. So I'm going to cut it up, rough chop, and get it all in that bowl. Oops. So far so good, not getting stung. Look at that big old wad of chickweed. I was so excited to find another patch of chickweed. It was deep in the woods. I have this little area, not deep in the woods, actually on the edge of the woods, but there's a lot of overgrowth and some trees. So underneath, it's like a lot of the deer go in there too. I noticed just this green area, and I was like, ooh, I wonder if that's chickweed or cleavers, and sure enough, it was chickweed, so I was pretty happy about that. Here's those stinging nettles. And I also have some chives. The recipe that Pascal does calls for like a lot of chives or a lot of onion, wild onions, and then you use your greens. So I just did a little mixture of everything in here because it's all spring in a basket here. I also have some wood sorrel. Let me see that wood sorrel. Kind of not super clear, but we'll put this all in. And then, oops, I'm going to sprinkle in. I have greens going everywhere. All right, we're going to sprinkle in the salt. Now this is where I'll probably just a little bit stung by those nettles, and you want to squish it around. Squish it up really good. I got it. Well, good thing we have plantain right outside, so I can go and get some plantain and get rid of those stings. I could have wore gloves, but I don't like to cook with gloves. All right, let's do this. So you can see it. It's all coated with salt. So are my hands. And then we're going to put this right in the food processor. You could use a blender. You might have to scrape it down more than you would with a food processor. So I'm just going to try to get it all in it. Make sure you get every little bit of that salt. Squish it in. Okay. Get in there good. Let me just wipe my hands quick. Sting, sting, sting. Put the lid on. It's gonna get loud. It's not going to become like a full paste. You just want them chopped up enough so that when you do grab a spoonful out to use in, say, a soup stock or just in a salad dressing or something like that, you don't want all these long stems. They're a little more. Like there's a stem of something in there, like a piece of wood. Now, by the way, when you're doing this, I wash my hands right before for about 20 seconds. You want your hands washed really well and everything that you use and washed really well, because since we're not canning this and we want it to preserve and keep, I mean, the salt's going to do its job of keeping out any kind of bacteria and stuff. We want to make sure everything is clean, because you don't want to look at it 6 months from now and be like, oh, what happened to it? So this will keep for about a year. Now, we're not done yet. So what we have to do, even though this is super easy, we're plopping it in there. See how that shrunk down? Get all those juices. Don't let them get away. Now, what the salt is going to do to this, see that in there? The salt is going to draw out all the moisture from all those herbs. So we're going to cover this with a little bit of plastic wrap, stick it in the refrigerator for about 8 hours. And then we're going to stuff it in a canning jar, just like this, juice and all. Put a little bit of salt at the bottom and a little bit of salt at the top, just for added protection. And then we'll keep it in the fridge and we'll try it in about a week. So I'll get back to you later with the next step. So we are back. It's been not quite 8 hours, but I would say right around 7-ish. This is what happened. It got all juicy in there. Not as much juice as I was hoping, but anyway, I have here, this is probably a 12-ounce canning jar. I boiled it in hot water so that it was sanitized. I sanitized my canning funnel and the lid as well. Even though we're not canning anything, we again want to make sure that there's no germs that can get in there. So what we're going to do is scoop in our little herbies in there. Get them all down. And I was trying to find the smallest possible jar, so I guesstimated 12 ounces. We will see. I think I could have almost gotten away with an 8-ounce. Look at that beautiful green juice. Awesome. Now you definitely want to squish this down. Oh yeah, I should have definitely used an 8-ounce jar. Look at that. All right, I am going to get another jar. Okay, I went ahead and got a smaller jar. Ooh, this jar is hot. I just took it out of the boiling water because you don't want a whole lot of airspace. Like if you can see, there's way too much airspace there. You want to have a jar that makes sure everything fits in there as much as it can with very little space. So what I did do at the bottom of this one is I added just a little bit of kosher salt at the bottom, and then we're going to do the same thing at the top. Even though it's already salted herbs, we still need to do that. So I'm going to get all this out of there again and put it in this jar, squish it down. So what you could do with these herbs while I'm getting this in there is wait about 3 or 4 weeks before you use it. That's what Pascal Bowder says in his new Wildcrafted Cuisine book. This way the flavors can meld together. And then you can take a couple of spoonfuls and put them in as a soup stock into water and taste it, see if you like it. And then you can use it in all kinds of things. You could spread it on meats, you could spread it on vegetables, mix it in eggs, roast some vegetables with it, make a salad dressing. Gosh, there's so many things you could do with it. But it's a good way to preserve all your spring herbs. Look at that. See that? See all that juice? You want to make sure you squish down the herbs below all that juice. Oh my God, that looks amazing. Looks like there's a foreign body in there. Like a little piece of wood. All right, you're coming out of there. I thought I did quality control already. Then we just take a little bit more salt, just a little, and sprinkle on top. It's not going to hurt anything. Just a little added layer of protection. And again, the lid was sanitized. We close it up nice and tight. I'll let the jar cool some because it is still a little bit warm. Then I will put it in the refrigerator and check it out in about 3 weeks. So I am really excited about trying this. I had one last year that I did, and oh my gosh, it was so amazing. So we'll see how the flavors of this one are, and you can always tweak it. You're not supposed to put garlic in it. I think I'm following the recipe exactly on this one. No garlic, but if you're putting this in a soup stock or in just some water to make your own broth, you can go ahead and add garlic for sure, and add some mushrooms and all kinds of good things. So don't forget to label it with today's date and what's in there. And I will definitely put a link for the book in the comments below. Have a beautiful day.